There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Courageous Love podcast. We are so excited to be hanging out with you tonight. And I have my very good friend, Rebecca Bormann, with me. I'm so excited for you all to hear her story. It's just incredible. She is truly a wonderful, wonderful friend. And when I think about our friendship, I was praying about us today, and I was like, God, give me all the reflection. You are so many things to so many people, a mentor, a leader, a giver, but our friendship is representation that God gives you exactly what you need when you need it.
Amen.
And I'm like, so you're light. I can remember, like, you hired me at Verizon. We immediately connected, and then we were out on the road. Do you remember my very first day in the field?
Yes.
So, guys, I'm trying to impress my new boss, Rebecca. I'm like so excited to get going. And on my very first day, I had a flat tire and had to call her and be like, can you come pick me up?
In your new car, nevertheless. It was like a new car, I remember too.
Yes, it was so embarrassing. But you were so gracious. You were so kind. You're like, let's go, girl. I got you.
That's right. It happens to all of us sometimes. That's right.
I know, but it's funny because I just felt like in that I look back now, your light truly gave me permission to shine mine unapologetically. And I feel like from a reciprocal perspective, my vulnerability allowed for you to be vulnerable too.
That's what I was going to say. You have absolutely helped me like take down those walls to let people in more, that's how we let our light shine even brighter, right? So I feel all the things that you say about me, I feel the exact same about you, and that you've helped me in so many ways. With, stepping into my life, stepping into my vulnerability, stepping into my authenticity, and then showing me those things, like that's where your real true like power like lies.
It is. Yeah. And that authenticity in sitting in your gifts and allowing for yourself to just be who you were supposed to be who you were created to be. But I think we grow up living in this world of survival.
That's right.
And it's to no fault of our parents, to us as parents, or to me as parents, to those who are parents. It's not really our fault. We're just trying to figure things out. We're living our lives and traumatic things happen, life happens, and we just have to figure some stuff out. And so I'm really excited to dive into your story today. And I'm glad that you're open and vulnerable and willing to share this piece of you, because I think it'll be really inspiring for other people who have had to grow up fast.
Yeah.
Who have experienced loss and trauma, but found a way to thrive through the storm.
Yeah.
You figured out how to do that. And I think that as an adult, it just allowed for you to become who you are and to serve the greater good. So you literally turned a really tough situation at a really young age and made it for the greater good for the rest of your life. And so let's dive into that. What happened in your life that kind of transpired all of this and all the things that you do to support everything?
Yeah. So as you know, I lost my mom when I was 12 years old. She passed away from a virus that got into her bloodstream. So, sepsis set in. So it was very unexpected. And so I was the oldest of three girls. My sister, I was 12. My other sister was 9, and the youngest was 3. And that was hard. And actually, even with this pandemic going on, it brought up a lot of fear, with the pandemic, because my mom died really suddenly. She was sick, and then she was really sick, and then she was in the hospital, and then she passed away. There was very little time to process that. And so, my sisters and I, we had our dad, but he was the breadwinner, the provider. He did a lot of the fun stuff. My mom worked part-time. But, she was the Girl Scout leader, and she was, the school, parent that was there for all the different things. And she carted us to practices and swim team and a softball and, all those things. So, here's my dad with 3 girls grieving the loss of his wife, who they got married pretty young and had kids later in life. So they had already been married 20 years. My mom was 43. And, he didn't quite know what to do. We
Right.
didn't know what to do. Um, and someone had to take care of us.
That's right.
Yeah, and so we had a nanny who was one of our neighbors, a young woman who I still talk to today and was a big influence on my life. Her name is Shelly. That helped my dad, once he went back to work, taking us to school and help cook and those sort of things. But pretty quickly after that, she moved away. Um,
Oh,
and so, there is that, like, someone you love leaving again. And then my dad got married pretty fast.
yeah.
He needed to give his girls a mother, and I think maybe didn't that didn't go so well, to put it like this really politely. And so much so that I ended up leaving home at 14, um, which was I was so angry.
Mhm.
Like, at just literally the world, at God, like, if
Yeah.
I'm being really honest, and my dad, at my mom. And I ended up leaving to go live with my mom's sister in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We lived in Fort Wayne at the time. And I wanted to take my sisters, but I couldn't. My dad wouldn't let them come, but he let me go, which I realized, like, that was something I had to process later in life. It was one of those things, like, I thought I had worked through everything, and then this kind of popped up. But my aunt's a wonderful lady. I have
Mhm.
3 cousins. So my one cousin that was my age, and then 2 that were older. Who those are my brothers. Still to this day, we're all super close. But it was weird. So, like, in a matter of like 2 years, like, I lost my mom, I lost my nanny, I lost my sister, I lost my other sister, I lost my dad. Like, not all quite as, like,
Right.
not as all permanently as,
Of
I did
course.
my mom. But it really, hence I put up a lot of walls, and
Mhm.
thought that I had to do a lot of things on my own. Um, and through a lot of hard work, and a lot of connection, and a lot of learning and growing. So, through counseling, through leadership and coaching organizations like Zarvos programs that we've been through reading books, I've learned that, like, through finding my relationship with God would be
Yep.
huge. That this all happens for a reason, and it makes us who we are today. And there's, like, a silver lining, in everything. So, I mean, I can tell you that one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about women and children's organizations, is because of my mom. It's because of my mom. Because my mom was a pharmacist, so she was very into science, which was not exactly like a woman's role. When she went through pharmacy,
Yeah.
she encouraged my sisters and I, as well as my dad, to that we could do anything that we wanted to do. My mom was volunteered for everything all the time. And she had this big smile, this super contagious laugh. I remember, like, we went to a big Catholic school up in Fort Wayne, and it had a huge church. It must have sat like 1,000 people. And it was standing room only at my mom's funeral. I mean, like,
Oh, wow.
I like, literally, like, and as a 12-year-old, I couldn't really process this, but looking back at how many, like, lives, like, she touched, because she did all this volunteering, and because she let her light shine, like, has really, like, inspired me to be so involved, in the community with Women in High Tech and the Brandon Foundation, and Zarvos, and
Yeah.
supporting my friends, passions with Damar and Dove Recovery and all those sort of things. Like, it makes me really happy, and it feels like I get to, like, honor her and, like, carry her legacy with me.
Oh, you definitely do. And I don't know your mom, but I can see, like, because you have that contagious laugh and you have this big personality, like, you are literally carrying her legacy with you all the time, and I just think she's incredibly proud of you, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank
Like,
you.
the way you're the sister, and I have an incredible sister. Like, she's amazing. And you are just like that. Like, everybody would want you as a sister
Thank
because your sister, and I love your sisters. They're
you.
such amazing women also, right? So I would imagine the three of you are such a great representation of who your mom was, and she's just really in heaven looking down going, "Yep, I did that."
I really believe that too. My sisters, lost some time when we were younger, being able to, grow up together. When I was gone, which carried really heavy on my heart for a long time. And like our relationship as adults is like really special, and we're super close, and we do all kinds of things together, and our friends are all friends.
Yeah.
As you're knowing, both of my sisters, and my dad and I have like rebuilt our relationship over the years, which that was a hard one, because I hurt him, he hurt me, like, but now we've come from this place, we come from like a different place. Our relationship has been, quite incredible, for, a grown father, and daughter. And it just, I hope we get to be examples that, it can, sometimes it doesn't look so nice, it doesn't feel so good, but you can work through all of that, and you get to be an example for, for other people. I've mentored kids for, off and on for over a decade now, and I get to share with them my story, so they know that they're not alone, when they're not living with their mom or their dad. Like, I can empathize. I did that, and people look at me and you would never, assume something like that, but have very non-traditional
upbringings.
Upbringings, and we get to be that light. We get to be that reason that someone doesn't feel alone or undervalued or like they're too different or abandoned. You just say, no, look, this is part of your journey. It's going to make you who you are. I'm here. I'm standing up. I love you. I want to help you. We get to be like what my aunt, was for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I resonate with that because my parents worked a lot when I was young, and they had two children after me. And so, but they worked opposite shifts. So dad was sleeping while mom was working. So I was running that household. I was doing the dishes and doing laundry and taking care of the kids. And yes, I had to grow up really fast, but I have no regrets around that because I did what my parents needed me to do at that time. And it made me a really good mom, a really good wife, a hard worker. So in retrospect, looking back, it was a really hard upbringing. We didn't have a ton of money, but we did the very best we could with what we had. And it all turned out for the good and God's glory, right? Like, I'm such a great person, and because my parents, they did what they had to do, and I turned out, and my brother and sister turned out great too. So it's like, you can either turn it into a story of trauma or, victimization or pain, or you can turn those lessons into, it was life, and we were really blessed to have one another. I'm still blessed to have my parents together today and to be a supportive family. So it's really about your perspective. And I think that that's what you're saying. Like, it's all in the perspective. At some point, you decided in your life, I have to change my purview of the relationship that I have with my family. So when did you decide to go back and make amends?
Oh, man. Like, it's been a journey.
As
right?
It always is.
There's definitely been phases. And so when I was 17, I called my dad one night and I said, I really hadn't talked to him, maybe a handful of times over, a couple of years. And I said, I'm ready to come home. Like, I want to figure this out. I miss my sisters. I want to have a relationship with you. And I was just ready. And like, I couldn't even tell my aunt because I was, like I was like afraid. I don't know, she was gonna be mad or upset. At 17, I still don't know anything at 17, even though you think you know everything.
Yeah.
But it was about an 8-hour drive. My dad drove through the night and was there in the morning when I got up to come get me. And my aunt was, I think, a little shocked. In retrospect, I probably could have handled that a little differently. Instead of my dad just showing up on her doorstep. But we have a wonderful relationship and are super close today too. And, I've since, apologized for that. But my dad and I had a very long talk on, like on the way home. And I started to understand, like, I got to share my feelings with people without, screaming and yelling and throwing and, all those kind of things. And my dad, had been working on himself and his, temper too, during that time. And, we had some conversations about, my dad was at that time had been divorced from the woman he married after my mom, had already been engaged again to somebody else, and that didn't work out. So we had some conversations about, like, I get it. He's like dating, and like there's me and my sisters, and especially with my youngest sister who I'm 10 years older than, like, you can't keep on bringing this
right
people in and out. We had talks about, things that hurt my feelings and things that he was scared. I think my dad was, scared that I was going to go down the wrong path. I wasn't hanging out with the greatest people. Some of them were amazing and incredible. Some of them not so great, kind of a mixed crowd, if you will. And it really started with stopping to hold everything in and starting to let some things out. Right. And, so that was really the beginning of it, right? And it kind of went through some different phases. About 10 years ago, I had another one of those shakings, and I'd since found my relationship with God, and I was raised Catholic. I always believed in God. I wasn't really taught to have a relationship with Him so much. So in my, late teens, early 20s, I kind of, I went to church sometimes. I, sometimes didn't. In my late 20s and early 30s, I, actually decided I was going to figure out a church that I loved. I went to lots of different churches over that time, and I found my church home, which I'm so blessed that now is your church home too. Yes. Shout out to Heartland in Indianapolis. But so 10 years ago, I'm cruising down life and thinking that everything's great. And, I've got a great career. I've got good friends, this was just before you and I met. And I didn't even know what it was, but out of nowhere, some pretty bad anxiety and depression, like I thought I needed to go to the hospital. Like I couldn't breathe, I thought something was physically wrong with me. And I didn't know what to do. My dad came and got me from Fort Wayne. I was living in Indianapolis then. I said, something is wrong. I don't know what's wrong. Like, I'm scared. I feel fearful, all these things. And my dad is in the medical field as well as my stepmom. They're like, yeah, I think you're maybe experiencing some anxiety and depression. And I was like, well, I'm like up for a promotion at work. I've got good friends. Like, what is going on? My dad didn't know. I don't know exactly what to do with me, but that next morning, my dad took me to church. At the church where I went to school my whole K through 8th grade. The church where my mom's funeral was at. The priest that was over mass that day was a priest that had been there, since I was going to school. And it was like the little kids church service. It was like a Wednesday afternoon or something. So it was the little first and second and third graders who are so cute, singing like this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Which again, there's this light shining is like a theme like in my life that God has clearly been trying to tell me this message for a long time. And I just I in the middle of church, I lost my mind and I just started crying like I've never cried before.
Yeah.
And my dad was ready to pick me up and leave church, and I said, no, I can't leave. I've got to talk to Father John. I got to talk to him. And my dad and him are good friends, and I was like, we got to stay. I got to talk to him. But I couldn't stop crying. And I didn't even know exactly what I needed to talk to him about, but something in my heart was just telling me, you got to talk to him. So after church, my dad flagged him down. And of course, Father John says, my child, like, what's wrong? And, he knew who I was. Our family had been going to church there a long time. And he was actually at the hospital the night my mom died, which I hadn't really thought about, kind of blocked that night out. And I just kept on telling him, I was crying so hard, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, why are you sorry? And I said, you were at church, you were at the hospital the night my mom died. And I told you that I didn't believe in God anymore. And I think some F words.
At 12.
at 12. and like literally ran out of the room. I remember he was in like the little like prayer room. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, child, he goes, I don't remember that. He goes, that was the worst day of your life. He goes, God doesn't remember that either. And I was like, what do you mean he doesn't remember that? And he just said, you're forgiven. Like, that was hard. And you've been forgiven. And I never thought about that. I don't remember it. I still don't remember it bringing you up. Like you bring it up. I still don't remember it. And he just said, and he goes, I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but he had lost his father when he was 14. So he said, I really understand. Like that was the worst day of your life. You don't have to be sorry. You don't, God never turned his back on you. I never thought about it like ever again. And it was like 1,000,000 pounds had been like lifted like off of me. And my dad, kind of shared with him that I was, struggling with, some anxiety and depression and just not being myself. And he said, you're in the right place. You're in the right place. And he like said a little prayer over me. And I didn't know that was there. I didn't know it was inside. I didn't know that I was still like holding that like that guilt, that shame, that like anger. Like I didn't know I needed to release it until God like shook me a little. So
So you could be set free.
Yeah.
That's what God wanted for you, is to be set free so that you could seek him, seek a relationship, continue to build the kingdom. So all that to say, like you had to experience some pain to let go of the pain.
Yeah. And that there's purpose in our pain. So I think, we don't always look for it. And I don't know that we're supposed to look for it immediately, but at some point, and now that I've been on this journey for a long time, and, when my tree gets shaken, I know it's time to like stop and reflect and figure out, what is this? What's its purpose? How am I supposed to help someone with this?
Mm-hmm.
Is it me I'm supposed to help? Is it you I'm supposed to help? Like, I know to stop and listen now. And that's been through, like I said, church. I have an amazing life coach who Erica Ballard, like shout out to her through, my amazing friendships with like you and so many others, with our Bible, study group. Like it really, like it takes this community for each of us really, I think, to find our true selves, to be the best version of ourselves each day. And as we do that, like other people get to kind of watch this journey, and then they also then decide to join.
Yeah. You blaze a path.
That's right.
Like you're essentially, in what you've done, especially in my life, and I know for so many other people's lives, is you make it look easy, right? Because you're just like, well, I'm going to have to be courageous in this, and I'm going to have to do the damn thing. So you just go nose first into it and go like, I got you. And you're carrying us along and continuing to invite me to come to church until it was my time to be ready.
Right.
But then when it was my time, then I turned around and invited other friends who turned around and invited other friends.
Right.
Today, like, we have an entire row.
Yeah, sometimes too.
Of people who are fellowshipping together, who are seeking God, who are building a relationship with him so that we could build stronger relationships with one another. And you did that.
It's incredible. And I'm so humbled and honored. And it was really him.
Of course it was. Through
He gets
you.
all the credit. And I'm glad that like he's taught me how to hear him better.
That's right.
And that that I get to stay open, and I've got all these tools from all these different experiences, from all these different interactions that I get to use, and I understand better how to use them now because I hear him a little better, and that's my goal, to hear him a little better, a little clearer, like each day, and to understand what it is, how I can help serve the greater good, advance the kingdom, just be some light in everybody's lives, because we all need it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I love that you say it that way, because I was just going to say it before you said it. Like, it is up to us to be the vessel, to be open. That's my prayer every single day. God, just use me in the way that you want me to show up in the world. And give me the courage and the boldness, like we talked about at church a few weeks ago, to be able to withstand whatever comes at me by doing it, by following. And you had mentioned before how you were struggling to hear him, but I've watched your journey over the last 2 years and how much louder he is for you, and your discernment from your voice to his voice. Because that's tough for people too. Is that me or is that you? Ooh, I'm not sure. I know I struggle with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been hard, and you've been a huge inspiration in that. And I know we've had lots of conversations. I'm like, how do you hear him? What do you like? Do you hear what words? Like, what exactly is this? And you've met one of my other really good friends, Katie, the founder of the Brandon Foundation. You two have been like really my inspiration, and like my go-tos are like, help me understand how exactly does this work?
Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to hear him? And it's been incredible to like be on that journey like with you all, and get to grow, and listening to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. And it sounds different for everybody. So for those viewers and people that are listening to this in the podcast, look, just seek him. That's really what he's asking you to do, is seek his face, seek to hear him. And it's a maturity. I think it grows and it becomes stronger the more you seek him. But for some people, he uses other people for them to be able to hear it. For others, it's audible. So like for me, it's audible, but it's my own voice, but yet it's not you, right?
Yep.
Like the time, I know I've shared this with you, but I'm going to share it with the audience. I was running around trying to get the kids on the bus, and I heard, call your mom. I'm like, I'm not calling her right now. Like, I'm in the middle of all these things. No. Mm-hmm. I hear it again. The kids are walking, like getting on the bus. I get in the car. I go to turn the radio on, and it was like, call your mother. Like, it wasn't mom. It was mother.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's not me. I hear you. I call my mom, and she's like, your timing is impeccable. Your dad was just in an accident.
Yep, I remember that.
That's not me.
Yeah, that's right. And
he was fine, by the way.
Yeah.
And it was super close. It could have been really bad. Yeah. So it's about being aware, and it's about being open to letting your Holy Spirit do what it's supposed to do inside of you. And I'm just really glad in that moment that I was not being as stubborn as I know. I mean, it took 3 times. So maybe I could have been a little more obedient sooner. But
charm.
You're right. However, God knows. And like you said, no blame and shame in this game, because you're forgiven. He just knows he has to keep knocking until you open the door.
Yeah. And I'll just say too, just to kind of tag on, I definitely hear God through other people a lot. And I now am able to hear him. It's, again, same as you, my voice, but I'm like, that was not my idea.
You can take the credit.
Yes. But sometimes I have this also just this like knowing, like it's literally like a feeling in my body that like if I don't do it, I don't know, like something is just not gonna be right. But it's like just this knowing in my body that I'm supposed to go to this place, I'm supposed to say this thing to this person, like whatever it is. So all the things. And I think the greatest advice I could give is actually what you gave to me, about listening to God. And our pastor Darren talks about it all the time, but I heard it from, he probably said it, but I heard it from you first. I make a little quiet time. Like you have to make a little quiet time. And it's not even necessarily that's the exact time that you're gonna hear from him. Sometimes yes, but this little quiet time where you just invite him in every day, like you said, your prayer about being the vessel. I've heard you say that a lot of times, and it's just asking him, like inviting him in every day, and then you start to hear him.
Yes, and that's really, so I created this podcast and this broadcast so that we could have conversations around people diving into their gifts and talents, because everyone was uniquely made in his image. So we need to bring awareness to that. I want people to be able to strengthen their relationships with their spirit, with their faith. And I want people to know that they are absolutely unique, and they are purposeful in building the kingdom and creating a beautiful life for people in this life, right? Even through the bad stuff, even through the trauma. It's other people's gifts that lifted you up out of that hard time. And if people weren't courageous and weren't loving, you might still be dealing with some of this stuff and not being able to make the impact. So I will continue to do this because I want people to really pay attention to the things that are unique about you and them, so that they can continue to go out and multiply and duplicate and allow people to have permission to grow into their gifts and know what they are, so they can be aware of when they're using them and the impact that they're making in this world.
That's right. I think that's what it's about. This life is a journey. There is always something to learn. There's always something to grow. There's always something to heal, to help us be the best version of ourselves, which and then helps others, do the same. And I think it's incredible that we always get to do more, be more joyful, be more loving, be more grateful. We get to just keep growing in that way. I love the saying that I shared with you, Nelson Mandela, as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give people permission to do the same. And for me, I know that one of my gifts is leadership. I mean, I've kind of felt that my whole life, and people have told that to me my whole life. And that quote has helped me really redefine what is leadership for me, because it's not necessarily being like the CEO of a company or the president of this or that. It could be, but for me, what leadership really is servant leadership is the right way to describe that for me. And what that is it's not a title or a position at a company. It's a way of being. And it's being like your authentic self. It's being open. It's being giving. It's being able to receive. Which that's one I know you and I have both worked on that one. But I think to be a giver, you have to also be a receiver.
A good receiver.
And it's like knowing when to speak up and knowing when to be quiet. Yeah. And it's about, serving others, doing what is wanted and needed, as our Zarvos family would say. That's really what leadership is to me. And I'm so excited that I figured that out in the last few years. That is because it's allowed me to stop chasing titles and chasing money and chasing jobs, and to realize that it doesn't matter where I am. I grow wherever I'm planted. I think there's a Bible verse about that somewhere, right? And that you get to lead you may, have a team at work you lead, or a team at a community, organization or a nonprofit. But I mean, you can lead from in front, from behind, from underneath, from
Yeah.
above, from the left, from the right. Like, you can always be a servant leader.
That's right. I'm so glad that you said that, because it's something that I've had to overcome. It is, in the secular world, the expectation is that you climb the ranks and that
Mhm.
you make all the money and that you do all the things, and that leadership is inside of those ranks. And I can tell you, in every single job I have been leading, but I'm kind of that silent, like, you don't even know you're being led by me,
That's
and you do the things and you don't even know you're doing the things. So
right.
everybody's leadership gets to look different, and it has I have I'm done with the blame and the shame and the guilt around continuing to grow, because I get that too. Oh my gosh, Amber, when is it ever enough for you? And I'm like, whenever God says it's
That's right.
enough, because as long as I feel led to go in these places, I'm going to continue to grow. And at the end of the day, I'm only ever seeking to be more like Jesus. And that, my friends, will never be done. So
That's
I
right.
must keep going and doing the things. And it's not that I'm not thankful or grateful for where I'm at, or in the position that I sit in, or the title that I hold, but I know that God has a lot more in store for me. And for me, that means for others too,
Amen.
because you and I always take people with us,
That's right. We lift as we climb. That's what that's,
always.
that's right. And I think, like, I think I don't this dawned on me as I was thinking and praying about this too, what is it that we like really do? We're connectors, we're business development, we're marketing, we're, friends, we're all these things, but really we're building community. you
Yeah.
know we're building community, and that is one of our gifts, is bringing the community together, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad that I get to do that with you.
Me too.
And it's like, I don't remember, I'm not great at like quoting exact Bible verses or anything, but there's a whole lot in the Bible that talks about, like, Lord, unite all your people together in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's why you have us building this community. That's why you have us loving all people. That's why you have us being like leaders in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's why you have us, in all these different groups with all these different people. And
Yeah.
I know you get similar feedback that I do sometimes, like, okay, you're over here and there and those people, and like, you literally know everyone. And I was like, well, someone has to bring all the people together, and that's what part of our gifts is. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
like, why our bond is so strong, because we're both so passionate about, like, everyone is welcome, everybody can come.
Yes.
Like, there is no, you have to believe in that, or have to believe in this, or look like this, or look like that. Actually, as a matter of fact, we rather everybody look exactly different,
Yes,
not
please.
exactly the same. Like, so
Yes, please. Yes. That's so true. I think, yes, one of our gifts is inclusivity, and the enemy is always trying to use your gifts as a weapon.
that's
He's
right.
always trying. And so the world will take those. And I've seen it in friends, I've seen it in work communities where, you have a hard time blending or meshing or and it's fine if it doesn't work, but that doesn't mean I'm ever going to stop trying.
That's right.
That doesn't mean that I won't ever stop trying to put people together and help them find the people that they're looking for in that moment in their life.
That's
I've,
right.
I've seen it work too many times. And so I just follow the call.
Yep.
And the
That's
call is
right.
that one goes there and that one goes there. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I think they always walk away with something more than they had before.
That's right. I think sometimes it's for, a short period, sometimes it's for a long period. And I think I've also come to accept that in my walk with Christ. And as I get older too, is that something is for a long time, some things are for a short time, and both are wonderful. Like, one is not better than the other. It is what it is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so because I definitely have been guilty of trying to hang on to like everyone.
I'm not
Yeah.
guilty of that at all. Nope. As a matter of fact, Olivia, your kids are your like the biggest reflection. I think sometimes they pick up on things because they're so smart and they're not living in scarce or fearful lives quite the way that we are because we're handling and doing a lot of things. But she said last week she's working through some things at school with other girls.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how teenagers are. They resist, they're jealous, they're all these things. And she was like, Mom, I really want to make a difference for this girl. And I don't need anyone else in my life. I don't need a bunch more friends. She's introverted, but extroverted at times. Like she's just kind of that ambivert. And I said, and she said, so I'm kind of like dad in that way. Dad shows up wherever he is and he makes a difference. And then he can love and let go and walk away. She said, sometimes sitting in your shadow is really hard because you collect people and they all belong to you. And then, you know, you're over capacity or you feel like, oh, you're really upset because this one's struggling over here. And she's like, I want to be more like dad and love and let go. And I was like, girl, you do whatever feels right for you. It is my calling to love people where they are and to keep them. And if they leave, that's on their own terms. And it is your dad who can be in the moment and love and hold people up and walk away. I think you have to have both. But I thought, what an incredible brain she has. I was just like, right. Yeah, that.
I mean, that's incredibly wise behind her years and insightful. And I would expect nothing less from Liv.
I know. Same. But I just thought they're watching, friends. Yeah. They are watching you.
Absolutely.
So I have 2 questions before we hop off here that I want you to share. So I just mentioned it. Like me, you're an overcomer. So what would you want other people to know who are having a tough time or trying to overcome something? What would you tell them?
Oh man. How long do you have? But
that might be in season 2.
But I think the biggest thing is ask for help. You are never alone. You don't have to do it alone. Raise your hand and ask for help. Ask God. Ask him who to lead you to. Ask your friend, ask your doctor, ask your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, like ask for help. Tell people, hey, like I'm having a hard time right now. Like we were not built to do this by ourselves, and too many of us think that we're supposed to do it on our own, or we're embarrassed or afraid of being judged. And I'm here to tell you, like, we all have a story. So and people are never gonna judge you, you know, as hard as you think that they might. And oftentimes they're not going to judge you at all.
You are your biggest critic. You're going to judge you, right?
Yeah. So ask for help. Like, so there are so many people that are right there that want to help, but they don't know that you need it, or maybe they don't know how to help you because you're not like asking and telling them what you need.
I love that. That's perfect. And then legacy. So we talked a little bit about your mom's legacy.
Yeah.
So what do you want to leave behind for those that you love?
Oh man. I want to leave behind just to shine your light bright, to go where you're called. Our pastor, you know, would say, you know, God breaks all of our hearts like differently. He gives us a heart for something. So when your heart feels broken, like my heart feels broken because this world is so divided, like because people are so divisive, because politics is divisive and media is, you know, so I want to bring people back together. Like wherever your heart feels broken, like trust that and go serve, because you have gifts and talents and tools to make it be better, you know. So I just want everybody to know that they're empowered to like make a difference, and you just have to step into it.
So good, Rebecca. You are, the theme of this has been incredible. That word's come up at least 10 times tonight. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm like honored and humbled to be on here. This has been like incredible. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been super fun. We'll see you again next time.
Bye, everyone.